men of iron. Hardy young fellows from the south coast of Newfoundland, a place where the only way to become a man, the only way to earn a living, was to get a berth on a schooner and dory fish on the Grand Banks. It was a tough life, and it took a special breed of man to do it. It's a proud legacy for the people of our south coast. The Americans, too, are proud of their seafaring tradition. This book celebrates the Adventure, the last of Gloucester's great fleet of fishing schooners that once plied the northeastern seaboard as far north as Labrador. Here she is, under full canvas, the last of her breed. And here's her captain, Leo Hines, originally of Bay Largent, Fortune Bay. Having dory fished on the Grand Banks as a young fellow, Leo felt right at home when he came here to Gloucester, the fishing capital of New England, and soon became the Highliner of the schooner fleet. But the days of the famous Gloucester schooners are over now. Engines have replaced sails and steel used instead of wood in this salty old port just outside Boston. We went there with Captain Leo Hines' nephew, Lorne Whittle, who fishes out of St. Bernard's in Fortune Bay. Lorne's the one who told us about his famous uncle and his schooner, the Adventure, now destined to become Gloucester's tall ship, a living monument to the city's glorious past, to the days of sail, of wooden ships and iron men. And talking of iron men, here's one now, 90-year-old Captain Leo Hines.
My God, you're
Hello, how are you?
That's my good wife.
How do you do?
Sorry. She's an old newfie, too.
Is she?
Right from Bay Largent.
In and out, Hines.
In and out, Hines.
Still spry at 90, Captain Leo Hines took us on board the Adventure. Over the years, he's kept in touch with his family. Though a Yankee now and celebrated here as a famous skipper, he still loves to hear about how the fishery is back home in Fortune Bay. And it's still a thrill for him to go on board the old Adventure, the ship he sailed for so many years.
Take your hand there, huh?
Now, you always turn around when you go below.
Go down backwards, just what the sign says. Now, that's quite the heat, ain't it?
Below deck, wood was crackling in the stove, toasting the old timbers of the Adventure, the knockabout schooner that for years brought in more fish than any other vessel in the fleet. She's had a long and colorful history, and so has her skipper, Leo Hines, who came here to Gloucester from Newfoundland so long ago.
We had a lot of, good fishermen. Frank Watts, he was from Bjorn, Newfoundland. Of course, he had been in the United States for years and years before I got there. And Parsons, he was from somewhere on the West Coast, up around Port Gloucester, some of those places. And he was one of the top dogs. But I thought to myself, when I started, my God, I got to do as well as those fellas, I probably beat them a little. That's why I, made so many extra trips. I was skipper in 1932. And we were gone a week, and we had, I think we had 160,000 pounds of fish. We came in and we got 2 cents a pound. And the crew share was $23. And mine was $100 as a skipper. I went home, I said, oh my God, we're in clover. $100 in those times. But the trouble is, you never know how long you're going to be skipper. You had to go out and catch another load of fish or they try somebody else. That's why I was driven, I guess, to excel. Oh, that's old Paddy Nolan, Paddy the Wig. Pat used to say, if you see a hair in the food, you know it's not mine. We used to pay him $25 a trip extra. Oh, that old pooch was with us for a long time. And that's the old cook there helping out. That was pretty dangerous sometimes, dropping those dories. Sometimes, if it was real rough, we'd have to stop the engine. If the weather was clear and fine, we'd space them out quite a distance, to cover more ground. Drop them on one side, and then we steam along a while, and then we drop the other side. that's herring. Well, as soon as the first dories got aboard, of course, they start dressing. Sometimes we had a pretty good catch. Of course, we'd make the second set before you would dress the fish. You wouldn't dress them down until evening. Of course, you had 30 or 40,000 pounds of fish, would, take about 2 or 3 hours to dress them all down and get them iced down. Well, sometimes we'd work around the clock. Well, they never get much sleep anyway. In the summertime, you'd get up probably 1 o'clock in the morning to bait the trawls. That would take 3 hours. Fish all day long and get them back aboard. They'd have to dress the fish. And then you'd get 3 or 4 hours sleep. It was a sort of a challenge. And I don't know, I don't think I'd want to do it again.
Well, Leo, do you have any favorite places that you like to go fishing? Back in them days,
oh,
do you have any spot that you try to get to yourself and no one else?
And I tried a lot of new spots too.
Mm-hmm.
When the old timers, of course, they were set under ways. Some of the old timers, like Parsons and Frank Watts, they were the highliners, and it was always in my mind, I got to do a little better than they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I tried a lot of places, and by God, most of the time they worked out. Mm-hmm. But one, and of course. We'd come in and we'd have a little more fish probably, and one or the other, I probably worked them a little harder, but they'd ask the crew, now what course did you steer and everything, But I'd always tell the crew, don't give any secrets away. and of course, we're going to leave Gloucester, say, in the evening. There's probably half a dozen leaving at the same time. And when it got dark, of course, they'd like to follow your light, but we'd turn the lights off, so they couldn't follow it. And then we'd change courses.
But the dory fishing days were rapidly drawing to a close. Young men wouldn't fish this way anymore, and the old salts were worn out. So in 1953, Leo Hines sold his weather-beaten old schooner for a song, $9,000. They took the old hulk to Camden, Maine. But it wasn't the end, for a year later, rebuilt, restored with new canvas and a fresh coat of paint, the Adventure was born again, a windjammer in the tourist trade. It was a new life for the old lady of the sea, and a pretty sight she was, too, proudly sailing along the coast of Maine. But the people of Gloucester desperately wanted a tall ship to commemorate their seafaring heritage. They wanted the Adventure to come home, and so she did. Captain Jim Sharp decided to donate the Adventure to the city of Gloucester.
For 25 years I've had that little piece of paper. That's called a vessel's document. Certificate of documentation. You can tell it's real because it has a couple of stamps on it. Well, I just hope that this is a new life for Adventure in Gloucester. I expect it will be. And I hope that it's a turning point in Gloucester's history. Gloucester's got to have a vessel. Gloucester has always had vessels, real vessels, sailing vessels. And Gloucester's got to have a vessel far more than the Coast Guard needs one, far more than Mystic Seaport, New York, or any of the rest of those places. They were truly the fastest and most able vessels that ever sailed the seas. Now you got one.
And so the Adventure came home to Gloucester. An old schooner became a symbol of a people's pride in their seafaring heritage. And for Leo Hines and a tiny circle of salty old sailors, a moment of overwhelming joy. Tall, elegant old lady they loved so well will once more challenge wind and wave, and in her adventurous old age become a living reminder of the days of sail.
Nice to see that old vessel with a prominent spot in that community.
Yeah, and I think Dave Quinton got it right on when he